Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Back on the call with more action for Milford Post 59. This is Tim Coet, joined on the broadcast for the second game of the doubleheader by Anthony Mazzini. And Milford has already retaken the field. A lot to get to in between games as the coaching staff and the Parks Department reset the field. The team's got a little food in them, and now Milford back out on the field, ready for game number 2. And once again, we have a very abbreviated time window to get in our pregame information, so we'll do the best we can as we bring you a very abbreviated version of the Consigli Ruggiero Funeral Home pregame show. Consigli Ruggiero Funeral Home serving all faiths for over 50 years in Milford. And what we will get to first is we'll tell you, unfortunately, we were unable to get to the coach's corner in between games. Coach DeVito very hard at work, again, getting the field reset, ready to go for game number 2, but that Coach's Corner, normally brought to you by Blair House of Milford, making their home your home, specializing in assisted living, long-term and short-term care. And the remainder of our pregame festivities will have to wait until in between innings as we are set to go for the second game of this doubleheader. Milford looking for a victory here after dropping game 1 to Leominster earlier this afternoon by a final score of 7-4, and set to go now with baseball in the nightcap as Zach Sisitsky, who will get the start for Post 59, sends the ball outside, and baseball underway once again here at Pheno. Now the 1-0 pitch, and that misses away. 2-0 now to the leadoff batter for Grafton Hill, Post 323, Jonathan Cherry. And a very late time in the season for these two teams to be meeting for the first time on the year, as that one now hits the outside part of the plate, and it's a 2-1 count to the batter, Jonathan Cherry. Sisitsky working quickly to this opening batter of the game. His next pitch misses far outside, and he's gone now to a 3-ball, 1-strike count on Cherry, the left fielder. He'll be followed by J.D. Bailey, the center fielder, and Dylan Legue, the starting pitcher. As Sisitsky is now ready with the 3-1 pitch, and that is too low for ball 4. And a leadoff walk now for Sisitsky, making just his first start of the season. This is the 7th time we've seen Sisitsky appear on the pitcher's mound, but his first start, he comes in with a 1-0 record, does have a save. He's pitched 8 1/3 innings so far on the year. He's allowed a total of 8 hits, just 1 run. It was unearned. He has not hit a batter. He's walked 2, struck out 3, and opposing hitters are batting .250 against Zach Sisitsky, who will now face the right-handed batting J.D. Bailey, and he takes a pitch down low for ball 1.
The command for Sisitsky right now is just not there. Not a good start for this game. Walking the leadoff batter, and now a first ball to the second batter of the game.
A leadoff of first for Cherry as the pitch to the plate is up and away. And so very quickly we will see Coach DeVito pop out of the dugout. So with a brief pause in the action, it will give us an opportunity to bring you the full starting lineups for today's game. Those are brought to you by Milford National Bank and Trust. For Grafton Hill, it is Jonathan Cherry leading it off in left. J.D. Bailey, the center fielder, bats second, with Dylan Legue, the starting pitcher, batting third. Sander Lovorn plays first base and bats cleanup, with Brendan DeSottles, the catcher, batting fifth. Brian Fletcher, the shortstop, bats sixth, with Griff Consigli, the third baseman, batting seventh. Batting eighth is Ricky Rushton, the second baseman, and in the ninth spot is the right fielder, Ryan Saucier. And the pitcher, also in the starting lineup for Grafton Hill, will be Dylan Legue. So that is the Grafton Hill side of the starting lineup, as now the pitch into Bailey hits the outside part of the plate, so now a 2-ball, 1-strike count. We'll get to Milford's lineup in the bottom half of this inning. Again, the proud sponsor of our starting lineups for Milford Legion Baseball, Milford National Bank and Trust. As the count goes to 3-1 now, and missing consistently outside. And we see this often, Anthony, the lefty trying to work that outside part of the plate to these right-handed batters, but right now just missing his spots.
Yeah, the lefty, the ball tends to tail away, so when you try to hit that outside spot, you almost need to run it over the middle of the plate first.
Able to pull that one back to the corner, and that will fill the count. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Bailey. And we'll see if Cherry will opt for a head start at first base. He is held on by Alex Reynolds, who plays first base in this second game of the doubleheader. The payoff pitch, and that misses low for ball 4, so back-to-back walks. And that will put runners at first and second base with nobody out for Dylan Legue.
Walks haven't been a particularly big problem for Sisitsky this season. In 8 1/3 innings, he only walked 2 batters, and he hasn't hit any. So this is kind of surprising to see 2 straight batters walk to begin this ball game.
And now another righty in Lakeview who will bunt this ball down the first base line. An excellent bunt. Sisitsky barehanded fields and throws, and he will get the out at first base. But the sacrifice, a success for Lakeview, as he will move the runners along to second and third base. And a nice play by Sisitsky just to get the out at first.
Yeah, this is a very nice play by Sisitsky, fielding his position, coming off the mound to his left and making a good play on the bunt. Not too often you see the number 3 hitter in a lineup to decide to bunt. But with Milford not scoring many runs in their last couple of games, only 5 yesterday, 3 in the game against Cherry Valley, and then 4 this afternoon against Leominster, if Grafton Hill probably feels that if they can get a couple on the board, they have a shot at this game.
And again, Sisitsky will start off from behind, facing the imposing target of Xander Lovorn at the plate. Another right-handed batter, nothing but righties against the left-handed starter, Sisitsky. And there's a fastball in for a called strike, evening the count at 1.
We don't have measurements for these Grafton Hill players, but I have to imagine that Lovorn is about 6'3", if not a little bit taller.
An imposing presence in the right side batter's box. And now about to see a 1-1 pitch. He holds off on the swing, but takes a strike. Sisitsky able to get ahead 1-2. Jumping once again right back into action here on MyFM 101.3. Able to bring you the majority of the afternoon contest against Leominster, and now just in time to get the start here against Grafton Hill. A lot to do in between innings. Getting lineups from both teams. Speaking to the coaching staffs, but ready to go as this game got underway just a few minutes past 7 o'clock. So nice job for these teams to be able to turn around as quickly as possible to get ready for this evening matchup. Now a 2-2 pitch, and it's swung on and missed. That was a foul tip into the mitt of Tyler Almeida, who's behind the plate for this second game. So Sisitsky able to battle back to get the K, and now there are 2 outs.
Sisitsky doing it on his own right now, first fielding his position and flipping a ball on a sacrifice bunt by Lakeview over to the first baseman Reynolds for the first out, and then striking out Lovorn. So even though there are runners at second and third, the Milford Southpaw is doing a good job right now of hoping to work out of this second and third jam.
And now timeout called as Dawson McMillan had to lace up his shoe out at second base.
Looks like Tyler Monahan followed suit over there at third base.
So the shoes all tied nice and tight now for this at bat for Brendan DeSottles, the catcher. And he takes the first pitch on the outside edge for a called strike 1. So right now Sisitsky trying to pitch around those back-to-back walks to lead off the inning. A sacrifice bunt pushed them along, but then the strikeout to Lovorn brings 2 outs in the inning. And now an 0-1 pitch on the way to DeSottles, and it's grounded slowly over towards first. In to play it is Reynolds. The flip to first base with the pitcher covering the bag is in time. A bang-bang play at first, but a good play on the front end from Reynolds, and a nice job by Sisitsky to get there to the first base bag to collect the out that ends the inning. So it goes 3-1 on the out, and Milford is indeed able to pitch around those back-to-back walks to open up the inning. So Grafton Hill threatens, and they do not score. And we'll keep it right here as we will now settle into this second game of the doubleheader. As again, for those of you who are just joining us, this is our second game on the day here at Pheno Field. We were hoping to bring you doubleheader action yesterday. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had other ideas for that second game. Rained out between Milford and Eastside Post 201. And right now that game is in uncertainty moving forward, as the way things have turned out after Milford lost that game to Leominster earlier today 7-4. Milford is now officially locked in as the number 3 seed heading into the playoffs, and Eastside has officially been eliminated from playoff contention. So it is a game now that does not have implications anywhere in the standings. As we stand right now, the only spot in the playoffs that is still up for grabs is the 8th and final seed. So we will see moving forward if that game does get played. We don't have confirmation, but there are some whispers around the field that that game may not take place at all. And as soon as we have confirmation on that, we will certainly let you know. So Milford losing the first game of the doubleheader against Leominster 7-4. And now a scoreless game as we head into the bottom of the first inning. And with that, we will now bring you Milford's starting lineup for this game. And we remind you that the starting lineups are brought to you by Milford National Bank and Trust. For Milford, it is Shaun Rabello leading it off in center field. Dawson McMillan, the second baseman, bats second. Aiden Wild is the DH batting third, with Tyler Monahan, the third baseman, in the cleanup spot. Alex Reynolds at first base for this second game, batting fifth, with Kyle Nocera back in right field batting sixth. Tyler Almeida gets the start behind the plate batting seventh, with Jonathan Rice playing left field batting eighth. And in the ninth spot today, playing shortstop and back in the lineup, is Joe Sanchioni. And so that weaves us seamlessly into our injury report, which as always is brought to you by Milford Regional Medical Center, and we've been monitoring the progress of that knee injury for Joe Sanchioni. He is able to give it a go here in this second game, although Coach DeVito continuing to be cautious, putting him in that ninth spot in the lineup rather than his typical spot at leadoff. And so Sanchioni back in there, which means everyone is healthy and ready to go for this second game of the doubleheader. And so now set to begin the bottom half of the first inning. Dylan Lakeview on the mound for Grafton Hill, facing Shaun Rabello, who bats in the leadoff spot for the second straight game, and he takes a called strike from the righty. And back into the windup and the pitch, and that snaps off low to even the count at 1. Rabello coming off of a performance against Leominster where he went 1 for 3. He singled in the first, walked and scored in the third. So on base a couple of times against Leominster, and now up there with a count of 2-1.
He had a good game yesterday as well in Milford's one and only game against Northborough, went 2 for 4 in that game.
And that pitch missing low. And so now a correction, the count 2 balls and 2 strikes on the first Milford batter in the home half of the first inning. The windup and the pitch, and Rabello chasing an outside fastball. He goes down on strikes.
With 2 strikes, the hitter has to expand the zone, but that one wasn't really close that time. Rabello probably extended the zone a little bit larger than he would have liked. Fastball on the outside part of the plate that just kept tailing away from the outside corner, and Rabello goes fishing for the first out.
So that brings up Dawson McMillan back at second base, with Sanchioni returning to the lineup. And the first pitch is hit hard back up the middle, rolling out towards second base where Ricky Rushton plays it. His throw to first base pulls Lovorn off the bag, and McMillan will be safe. That looked like about a routine a play as you could get. Rolling slowly over towards Rushton, and the throw to first where Xander Lovorn certainly has plenty of room to stretch with that big body, but apparently the foot coming off the bag and McMillan safe.
That's what good speed will do. Dawson McMillan getting down the line very quickly, and good speed allowed McMillan to get in there safely.
And so a 1-out base runner for Aiden Wild, who swings away at the first pitch, pops it up over the backstop and out of play. You know, Anthony, a couple of weeks ago there was a picture that circulated around the internet of the second baseman for the Houston Astros along with Aaron Judge, and you saw the comical height difference. That's on display right now with Dawson McMillan at first base and Xander Lovorn covering the bag.
It's very funny to look at, and like we said, we don't know the measurements of these players physically, but a significant height difference over there at first base. McMillan comes up to about Lovorn's shoulders, including helmet and cleats, so while standing on first base. So a couple added inches for McMillan, and he only comes up to about the shoulders.
It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count now on Aiden Wild. Now the runner takes off. The pitch is high. The throw down to second base. And a late call from the infield umpire. Finally throws up the safe sign. The throw tailed off towards the first base side of the second base bag, but it ended up coming right close to the runner coming past. But apparently Ricky Rushton was unable to apply the tag as Dawson McMillan slid safely into second base.
The glove from Rushton actually came off on that play. Looked like Rushton had the ball and went to go sweep the tag, but the ball flew out of the glove, and the glove flew out of Rushton's hand.
And now McMillan sends a fly ball out to center field, sending Bailey back, and he's able to track it down. And now McMillan has to hustle back towards the second base bag now with 2 outs in the inning.
Wild looked like he just missed that one. Still got a good piece of it out towards the right center field gap. And another 2 or 3 feet to the right. That ball might have been out of the reach of J.D. Bailey in center field, but Good range by the Grafton Hill center fielder to make the second out.
So 2 outs now, McMillan at second base. And that brings Tyler Monahan up to the plate. And the first pitch misses down and away for ball 1. That second baseman for the Houston Astros, of course, Jose Altuve, having a little name retrieval issues there as I tried to make that point. That happens when you get over 30, Anthony. He'll have that to look forward to in several years from now.
Yeah, we're getting old.
And now Monahan rips one out to left field. That's down for a base hit. They'll wave McMillan around from third. He will score without a throw. And Tyler Monahan with an RBI single here in the bottom of the first inning to give Milford a 1-0 lead.
Monahan, who had gone on a little bit of a cold spell, of course, ending his hitting streak a few games ago, now finally coming through with a base knock to left field in his first at bat tonight, driving in Milford's first run. So good to see Monahan in the middle of the order getting back on track these last couple games. Driving in Milford's first run, they're up 1-0.
Sometimes you can be a victim of your own success. Tyler Monahan so red hot for the majority of this season. It made it glaring to see these last few games going hitless, but happy to see Monahan back on the hitting path here today with a 2-out RBI base hit. And that gives Alex Reynolds a chance to come to the plate with a runner at first base. A 1-ball, no strike count on Reynolds. And now the count evens at 1-1 in game number 1 of this doubleheader. Alex Reynolds going 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. So his bat cooling off just a bit. He was at quite a torrid pace. It reached base 5 consecutive games before that 0 for performance in game 1. Now sends a hard foul ball just outside the first base bag. Monahan retreating back towards first after he was off on contact. 0-2 on Reynolds with 2 outs. Milford a run home so far in the first. They never led against Eastside in game 1, falling behind Leominster 3-0 in game 1 of the doubleheader. They were able to cut the deficit to 3-2, but that was as close as they got, ultimately losing 7-4. A hesitation on the mound for League now as 1-2 pitch comes up and in on Reynolds and gets him off the shoulder. And he will take first base on the hit by pitch.
Looked like a breaking ball that time from League that didn't break. It just stayed up around the shoulder of Alex Reynolds. Reynolds probably thought it was going to break, but luckily was able to get his head out of the way. Took it off his left shoulder blade, it looked like. So he'll stay in the game at first base. Now at first base, also playing first base, but he's a tough kid hanging in there.
For Milford, that's now the 36th time they have been hit by a pitch here in 2017.
The second time for Reynolds on the season.
And still overall, that 3-4-5 combo has taken the brunt of it. 10 times for Wild, 8 times for Monahan, and now 2 times for Reynolds. 3 batters that crowd the plate. Heavy hitters in this lineup. Another good hitter at the plate in Kyle Nocera. He falls behind in the count, 0-2. Kyle earlier today in game 1 went 0 for 3. Of course, Milford able to muster just 6 hits against the tandem of Richie Sharp, David Newhouse, and Sage Bray of Leominster. And now Nocera taking a called strike 3 on the outside part of the plate, 3 strikes. And Nocera goes down to end the first inning, so Milford will strand a pair, but they do score the game's first run on an RBI single from Tyler Monahan. And Milford takes a 1-0 lead over Grafton Hill post 323 here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on MyFM 101.3. Milford now with a 1-0 lead over Grafton Hill as we head into the second inning of game number 2 here on the slate at Pheno Field. And depending on how things pan out in these next couple of days, this might be the final home game for Post 59. They do have that east side matchup that is right now up in the air. So we will have to wait and see if the teams possibly come back and play that one on Tuesday. We'd think at this point, without a make-up date set up for tomorrow, if it is played, it would be played on Tuesday, as now we have gotten official word that the start of the Zone 4 playoffs, which was originally scheduled for June 11th, will now be delayed until July 12th. So they will start officially on Wednesday instead of on Tuesday, so that does leave open the possibility of a regular season matchup on Tuesday, if need be. A swing and a miss from Brian Fletcher, who leads off for Grafton Hill in the top half of the second inning. A 2-ball, 1-strike count against Zach Sasitsky back on for his second inning of work. And a foul ball sent off to the right and out of play, just over the bleachers behind the first base dugout, and the count evens at 2.
As far as that game against Eastside is concerned, Coach DeVito can look at it one of two ways. It doesn't mean anything, but he can use it as a not a touch-up game, I should say, to work out any kinks for his team before the Zone 4 playoffs, or he could just use it as a day of rest.
Now the 2-2 pitch misses up and away, and another full count. So again, no official word for that game just yet. We will get that out as soon as we possibly can, as the 3-2 pitch misses low. And so Sasitsky getting ahead in the count, but eventually yielding his third walk so far of the game.
Sasitsky with already 3 walks in this game. As you mentioned, Tim, that's more than he's walked in the entire season combined so far. Only 2 and 8 in the third innings pitched. He's already exceeded that total. He's now up to 5 on the year. So the command hasn't really been there so far for Sasitsky, but he worked out of it in the first inning.
And now first pitch swinging, a pop-up for Griff Consigli right around the plate, and it's Sasitsky who takes charge, calling off Almeida, the catcher. And Sasitsky makes the play right in the baseline, just about 3 or 4 feet outside of the left side batter's box, and that is out number 1.
That's really the catcher's ball. Almeida had that one lined up, but Sasitsky, it's really an easier ball for the pitcher, but a lot of times the pitcher just leaves it off for the catcher. But a good job by Sasitsky, again fielding his position.
Brings the first out of the inning. That runner remains at first, and a called strike 1 issued to Ricky Rushton, the number 8 batter and second baseman. Can even see all of these Grafton Hill players for just the first time. Had an opportunity to catch part of Grafton Hill's game that they played as part of the Zone 4 day at Holy Cross, as Grafton Hill played Northbridge in one of the earlier games. That ended up being an 8-0 win for Northbridge over Grafton Hill. But this is the first time Milford has taken on post 323 this season. They were originally scheduled to play this game here at Pheno Field back in the opening week of this 2017 season. That game was rained out. Runner takes off from first base. The pitch is high and outside. The throw down to second base is not in time. That pitch was up and away, but almost served as a pitch out for Almeida. And he sent the throw down, and it trailed back right into the runner. McMillan able to make the play and the tag, but apparently just late.
Yeah, that was a great throw that time from Almeida behind the dish. A good shoot down to second base. McMillan had the tag on him, but it was just a tad bit too late. The foot got in there.
Now the 1-2 pitch misses outside. Didn't get much argument from Coach DeVito out of the first base dugout. So Fletcher now at second base with 1 out, and the 2-2 pitch is swung on and foul tipped into the catcher's mitt for strike 3. And Rushton goes down, the second strikeout for Sasitsky, who now has 2 outs in this top half of the second.
Good pitch from Sasitsky, keeping it up and away from Ricky Rushton to get his second punch out of the day.
That runner at second base now bounces out to a huge lead as Sasitsky sends an off-speed pitch in to Ryan Saucier for strike 1.
And again, we see the Milford starter, Zach Sasitsky, working out of a jam. He walked the leadoff batter, but then 2 quick outs.
There's 1 more left to get, as Saucier swings away at the 0-1, fouls it at the plate. And it's a no-ball, 2-strike count. Already some activity throwing in the bullpen, as Sasitsky's now 32 pitches deep in what we have to imagine was a bullpen day planned for post 59. Sasitsky has been utilized exclusively in relief this season. So probably going in 2 or 3 inning chunks to get through this game. An 0-2 pitch now is on the inside part of the plate for a called strike 3. So a good end to this inning for Sisitsky, striking out back-to-back hitters, and that strands Fletcher at second base. So Sisitsky has stranded 3 runners on base through his first 2 innings of work. And as we head to the home half of the second inning, it remains a 1-0 Milford lead over Grafton Hill on your home for Milford Legion Baseball, My FM 101.3. It's the Milford half of the second inning now getting underway at Fino. Batters 7, 8, and 9 coming up in the post-59 order. And Tyler Almeida taking a look at a called strike 1 from Dylan Legue, who allowed an unearned run on 1 hit in the first inning. Dawson McMillan reaching on an error by the second baseman, coming around to score on the single from Monahan, and now Tyler Almeida dumps that ball out into shallow center field, and Tyler has a leadoff single.
Good to see Tyler Almeida come on and get a base hit. We talked a little bit yesterday in the game against Northborough about how the at-bats have been somewhat limited for Almeida, serving as the backup catcher and an infielder as well for this team, and he was robbed a couple times by Colin Mitchell for Northborough yesterday on a couple of great diving plays by the Northborough center fielder. So good to see Almeida getting the hit column today.
And now it's Jonathan Rice jumping on the first pitch, and he fouls it away for strike 1. Rice getting back into the starting lineup. This is now the 9th time we've seen Rice in the batting order this year. He has 17 at-bats, 7 hits, 3 runs batted in. Good for a .412 batting average. So he's been good in limited service. And it seems like Rice is really getting healthy and confident here as the season goes on. Meanwhile, looks like they're going to call a balk on the pitcher as he made a pickoff move over towards first. So that will send Tyler Almeida down to second base.
And speaking of pitchers, Tim, as you alluded to, there was some action in the Milford bullpen. It looks like Michael Farrow warming up, making his way back towards the dugout now, so he may be on for the 3rd inning.
Rice fouling that ball away. Jonathan Rice making the start for Milford against Maine South back on the 6th. Going 5 innings, which was good enough for a complete game, allowing just 1 unearned run in that game. So very good on the mound. He's been good with the bat. Seems like the hamstring is getting stronger now here at the end of the season, and certainly the arm is getting stronger, and the confidence is growing on the mound for Rice as he gets further and further removed from the Tommy John surgery from last season. Now an 0-2 pitch here, he strikes out. Down for out number 1 of the inning, and that's the 3rd strikeout now for Dylan Legue.
Both pitchers have done a good job of missing bats so far in this game. 3 strikeouts on the day so far through 2 innings for Sisitsky, and now this is Dylan Legue's 3rd strikeout of the game with only 1 out in the 2nd inning.
Brings up the number 9 spot, which today is occupied by Joe Sanchioni. Joe swings away at the first pitch and fouls it off for strike 1.
Sanchioni was fielding ground balls before this game started, about 45 minutes before the start of this game, with a couple of assistant coaches, and they were asking him how he was feeling. They were hitting him balls up the middle and to his backhand, and he said he felt fine, so convincing Coach DeVito he was ready to play today.
Missed 2 games with that stiff knee that cropped up on what ended up being an off day in between Milford's doubleheader with Maine South and Cherry Valley and the game Milford played against Northborough yesterday. An 0-1 count. And the pitch. This is a little bit outside and low. Good on-base numbers for Sanchioni on the season. The on-base percentage at .529. He has 15 walks on the season to go along with his 16 hits. He's also driven in 10 runs. And he has scored 28 runs, which coming into today tied him with Shaun Rabello for the team lead. So again, all of those categories, Anthony, that you like to see out of your leadoff batter, as Sanchioni has been that leadoff hitter for the majority of the season. Sanchioni's really done well in all of those categories.
High on base percentage, high number of walks, and he even chipped in with 10 RBIs. A lot of times You don't see many RBIs out of a leadoff hitter, but Sanquioni doing a good job when he has the opportunity with runners in scoring position to get the bat on the ball and drive in runners. He's a .300 hitter with runners in scoring position this year. So 10 RBIs on the season, and then those other categories, as you mentioned, Tim, good numbers in prototypical leadoff hitter categories.
Serving as that number 9 man today, partially to keep a little extra wear and tear off that knee. A full count now on Sanquioni. Here's the payoff pitch, and that misses outside for ball 4. So another walk for Sanquioni, make it number 16 on the year. He continues to lead the team in base on balls. So that's now 2 on with 1 out, and we go now second time through the Milford order. Shaun Rabello, who struck out his first time, now digs in for his second at bat. It's Almeida, the lead runner at second base, with Sanquioni at first. And the pitch into Rabello is in for a called strike 1. Last rays of sunshine still spilling across home plate. Also a little bit of sun out in left field as well. Other than that, the rest of the field in shadow. As the pitch misses high, evening the count at 1. And now a look in for League to his battery mate, Brendan DeSottles. And the pitch, that's in for a called strike 2.
Both pitchers working on that outside part of the plate. A couple of calls have gone either way. There have been a little bit of inconsistency so far as balls and strikes are concerned. But League getting the call that time.
So now Rabello trying to protect the plate with the 1-2 count. Here's the pitch, and he spoils that one foul to stay alive.
Rabello only 8 strikeouts on the season in 72 at-bats coming into today. That obviously doesn't include the game earlier against Leominster.
Did not have any strikeouts earlier today against post 151. Now sends one on the ground towards third. Consigli takes it to the third base bag to get the lead runner. That's the only out Grafton Hill will get. It's a heads-up play from Consigli as he gets Almeida at third. And now it's runners at first and second with 2 outs.
Smart decision by Griff Consigli, the Grafton Hill third baseman, to not throw across the diamond to first base to try to double up Shaun Rabello. Rabello has great speed on the season. He leads the team in stolen bases, so a good decision that time to be content with 1 out.
Dawson McMillan takes the first pitch right at the top of the zone for a called strike. With Shaun Rabello reaching on that fielder's choice, he's now reached base in 19 consecutive games. He does not have a hit yet today. He did have a hit in game number 1, so he is currently working on an 8-game hitting streak, but he has reached base safely in 19 straight. So Rabello also with good on-base numbers. Here's a 1-ball, 1-strike pitch into McMillan. That is good for strike 2.
A couple of good breaking balls from Lakeview, dropping them right at the knees of Dawson McMillan to get ahead in this count.
2 outs in the inning. Those runners leading off of first and second base. Milford trying to salvage something after they had the leadoff man on. Here's the pitch, and McMillan swings and misses. And that strikeout will end the inning. 2 Ks in the frame for Dylan League, who has 4 now through 2 innings of work, and that will force Milford to strand 2 runners on for the second straight inning. So we will move on to inning number 3 here from Pheno Field in game 2 of doubleheader action. Milford with a 1-0 edge on Grafton Hill on MyFM 101.3. Our coverage of Milford Legion baseball, the regular season rapidly coming to a close depending on how things pan out over the next couple of days. Milford with either 1 or 2 more games left on the schedule. But right now focused on Grafton Hill as the first pitch of this top of the 3rd inning is dribbled down the first base line. Reynolds takes it to the first base bag unassisted. And Jonathan Cherry is out number 1. with Zach Sasitsky back out for a third inning.
Yeah, it's interesting with Michael Farrow warming up down the right field line for Milford. He's not warming up anymore, but I saw him jog back into the dugout. It looked like he was ready. It was an indication that he might be coming out for this third inning, but Milford sticking with the southpaw to at least start this third inning.
Able to get the first out, and now ball one low into J.D. Bailey. We did see Michael Farrell in a short relief appearance in game number 1 of this doubleheader, so hard to know if Farrell was warming up to come into a second straight game or maybe just doing a little throwing on the side. Farrell pitching a scoreless 7th inning against Leominster earlier this afternoon. The only base runner reaching against Farrell came on an error at second base. And a swing and a miss on a 2-0 pitch into Bailey brings the count to 2-1. J.D. Bailey walked his first time up, part of back-to-back walks to open up the game. Sasitsky effectively able to pitch around it. And now a foul ball to the backstop evens the count at 2-2.
Michael Farrell is absent from the lineup today, so as you mentioned, Tim, as far as pitching in a relief role, probably an indication for the Milford relief pitchers today that, you know, Sasitsky hasn't got a start this season. He might only be on for a couple innings, so Michael Farrell may be preparing to come in later in this game, being absent from the lineup.
The 2-2 pitch is a breaking ball that stays very high, and that brings it to a full count. No one throwing in the Milford bullpen presently. And now the payoff pitch, that is high for ball 4. So the walks have been the only problem for Sasitsky so far. That is his 4th walk. All of the base runners for Grafton Hill so far have come via the walk.
He's doing himself no favors right now, especially in his first start, wanting to stay in this game as long as he possibly could. That's 4 walks on the night so far and counting.
And now starts off behind Dylan Legue. 1 ball and no strikes. The longest outing we've seen for Zach Sasitsky came in a relief appearance back on July 1st against Northbridge, where Sasitsky went 4 scoreless innings, scattering 3 hits. He did not walk any batters in that appearance, and now gets a swing and a miss from Legue to even the count at 1-1.
Those 4 innings coming into this game today would account for a little less than half of his total on the season, coming in with 8 1/3 innings pitched, so that clearly has been his longest outing of the year.
Yeah, a lot of times Coach DeVito has used Sasitsky as that matchup option, that lefty specialist out of the bullpen, using him in short relief roles. Ended up expanding that role in that game against Northbridge, and now getting a spot start here today. Ahead of Legue 1-2. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball towards third base. Fielded cleanly by Monahan. He throws to second to get the out there, and McMillan uncorks a high throw to first base. No double play, and now down to second goes Legue on the throwing error. So Monahan trying to start the around-the-horn inning-ending double play. He's able to get the force play at second base, but Legue ends up reaching on the fielder's choice and then gets down to second base on the E4.
And that throw, if McMillan had made it accurately, look like it would have had Legue at first base, but it's been the story of the entire season for Dawson McMillan. Hasn't been able to stay away from the errors. That's number 15 on the year now for Dawson McMillan.
And that gives Xander Lovorn a chance as this ball misses low into Lovorn. That skipped away towards the third base side, away from Almeida, and heads up base running for Legue. He's able to advance to third as he saw Almeida just a step slow going in to collect that loose baseball. And so now the tying run is at third base for Grafton Hill with 2 outs, and their big slugger Lovorn at the plate. And a foul tip into the mitt evens the count at 1-1.
Big slugger both with the bat as well as height. Still amazes me how tall this kid is. I'd look like a peanut standing next to him.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. And that is low.
Then again, a lot of people make me look like a peanut, so
The set by Sisitsky. That runner leading off of third, dancing down the line as this ball is sent foul. Certainly held your own in your playing days with Milford High School out there on the field.
I held my own. Would have helped if I had an extra inch or two. Basketball was never my strongest sport. Couldn't play with the big guys. I guess for soccer it didn't really much matter. Track an extra inch or two on my stride would have been nice, but yeah, I can't complain. I've turned out pretty well, I guess.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. And that one gets away from Almeida. Here comes the runner in from third base, and Legue will score. So that free trip around the bases ends up looming large. Legue able to reach on the E4 and advance to second base, then a pass ball getting him to third, and now a wild pitch allows Legue to cross the plate, and this game now tied at 1.
Other than hitting the ball into play, Legue was not forced to run on any situation. He was...
As that ball is fouled away, it stays a 3-2 count.
He was allowed to advance to second base on the throwing error by Dawson McMillan, and then a pass ball from Almeida allowed him to advance to third. And then another pass ball might go as a wild pitch against Sisitsky, allowed Legue to come around and score, so he had a free tripper on the bases.
50 pitches in the game for Sisitsky. Now pitch 51 is sent on the ground towards third base. Monahan has it and throws cleanly to first base for the out that ends the inning. But Grafton Hill able to scratch a run across as Milford ends up doing themselves harm with some misplays on the pass ball and the wild pitch. Also the error in the inning mixed in as well. And as we head to the bottom half of the third inning, it is now Milford 1 and Grafton Hill 1 on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on MyFM 101.3. Still waiting to see this Milford offense break back out again. They have been held in check by the opposition over their last several games. Just 4 runs scored in the loss against Leominster earlier today. 5 runs was enough for the shutout victory against Northborough in the game they played on Saturday, and then held to just 2 runs in their loss to Cherry Valley. So this offense, which is by far and away the highest scoring offense in all of Zone 4, has been looking a little bit more human over these last 3 games.
Well, again, Tim, we were talking about it with batting averages. You set yourself to such a high standard, you know, a hitter that's hitting 400 and then they go 0 for 3 in 2 straight games. It's like, oh, geez, what's he doing wrong? You start scoring double-digit run totals in 4 or 5 straight games. Yeah, you only get 4 or 5 on the board. You're going to think something's wrong. But really, I mean, Milford, yeah, the run totals have been a little bit low, but they've still managed to win a couple of the games that they've played. So as long as you're getting the wins, it doesn't matter. But Milford only with 1 run today, looking to break out.
Aiden Wild leading off the bottom half of the third inning. Wild 0 for 1. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count against Dylan Legue, who came in to score the game's tying run in the top half of this inning. Aiden Wild now rips this pitch out into center field. It's down for a base hit. A wide turn around first base for Wild, but he will hold with a leadoff single.
And this would be the inning for the Milford offense to break out. Aiden Wild, the number 3 hitter for Milford, leading off with a single to begin this bottom of the third. Now you have the number 4 and 5 hitters also due up in this inning. Tyler Monahan coming up now, followed by Alex Reynolds. And then Kyle Nocera, who's been hitting the ball well as of late. So this could be the inning that Milford can put a couple of runs on the scoreboard for a crooked number.
Post 59 now out hitting Grafton Hill 3-0. No hits on the board for Grafton Hill, but they do have a run as they ended up getting a 1-out walk last inning. And then Legue reaching on the fielder's choice, advancing to scoring position on the error, advancing to third on the pass ball, and scoring on the wild pitch. So a run without the benefit of a hit. And Tyler Monahan now at the plate with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Bit of a lob toss down to first base from the catcher after the pitch. And Wild, no problem getting back to first safely. Legue taking some time to peek around at that runner at first base before firing to the plate. Gets a fastball past Monahan. And the count now 1-2.
That was a home run hack that time by Monahan. A fastball up and in, a pitch that he likes to drive a long way, but just missed it. He swung out of his shoes on that one, though.
Monahan driving in Milford's run in the first inning with an RBI single. Here's the 1-2 pitch, and that's on the inside corner for a called strike 3. Monahan was not pleased with the call, but he will head back to the dugout as the 5th strikeout victim for Dylan League.
Well, when you crowd the plate as much as Monahan does, it's both risk and reward. The risk is getting that pitch on the inside part of the plate that you think is inside, but it really catches the inside corner. The benefit is a lot of times the pitchers don't want to hit you, although Monahan has been hit in double figures this season, but they leave one over the plate. But that time it went as the risk for Monahan, and he goes down looking.
And now first pitch swinging, Alex Reynolds sends one foul off to the right out of play. Reynolds was hit by a pitch in the first. Milford wore their home whites in the first game of this doubleheader. Now for game 2, wearing the retro navy jerseys with gold lettering. Reynolds watching a pitch sail outside. Grafton Hill, meanwhile, in all red uniform tops with white lettering. Road gray uniform pants. Big lead off of first for Wild. He goes, the pitch misses low, and a late throw down to second base. It gets away from the shortstop, but backed up. It gets past Rushton, I should say, the second baseman, but the shortstop able to keep it on the infield, so no further advance for Wild. He's safe at second base on the steal.
Luckily, the shortstop, Brian Fletcher, was there for Grafton Hill because that throw by the catcher, DeSuttles, was about 7 feet to the right of second base. No chance for Rushton covering to make a play.
2 balls and 1 strike now the count. Wild now a big lead off of second base as Reynolds watches that pitch dip in too low, and the count now 3 balls and a strike. Big crowd for this night game tonight. A lot of the bleachers all the way around filled with fans. As Reynolds slaps this ball out to left field, down for a base hit. They'll wave Wild around from second base. The throw from left field is going to be cut off. It's an RBI single for Alex Reynolds, and Milford is able to retake the lead now up 2-1.
Identical plays on how Milford has scored their run. Back in the first inning, it was an Tyler Monahan RBI single to left field to score Dawson McMillan. And now this time, it's Aiden Wild crossing the plate on yet another hit to left field, this time courtesy of Alex Reynolds. So Milford wearing out the left side of the field today. Jonathan Cherry has had no play on any of the balls hit out to him in left field, so Milford will take advantage of this 2-1 lead.
And Milford using really heads-up base running to set themselves up for those 2 RBI base hits, as Dawson McMillan was able to get into scoring position with a steal in the first, able to score on the Monahan hit, and the same goes for Aiden Wild here in the third with the stolen base. Milford with 3 steals now in the 2 games combined today, so that puts them up to 44 overall on the season. Foul ball hit out of play by Kyle Nocera, who has a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Kyle struck out looking to end the first, so batting 0 for 1 on this doubleheader, and actually batting 0 for 4 overall on the day. He went 0 for 3 in game 1. One pitch hit on the ground towards second base, fielded by Rushton. He throws to second to get the out there. The throw to first not in time to double off Nocera. So they're able to cut down Reynolds at second base on the force play. Nocera safe on the fielder's choice.
Looked like a tailor-made double play that time for Grafton Hill. Unfortunately for Grafton Hill, the turn was a little bit slow, and luckily for Milford, post 59, Nocera was able to beat out the throw to first base. So fielder's choice 4-6. Leave the inning up to Tyler Almeida.
Nocera's really shown good speed this season. He's used it to his advantage in the outfield, making a lot of rangy plays and hustling down the line there, able to keep Milford out of the inning-ending double play, as this one is looped out to center field off the bat of Tyler Almeida. Down for a base hit, and Tyler now is 2 for 2.
And I said it after his first at bat, after he singled back in the second inning. It's good to see Tyler Almeida giving Coach DeVito some production now as that backup catcher. In limited action, he only had a 185 batting average, now 2 for 2 today. So good to see Tyler Almeida finally breaking through. We knew he had the potential, but with just limited action, it's tough to get on a roll at the plate. He plays good defense both behind the dish as well as an infielder, but the hitting is finally starting to come around.
Gives Jonathan Rice a chance, who pops the first pitch up foul over the backstop and out of play. That one a little too high for you to pull down, Anthony.
Yeah, I always reach up. It's a natural instinct, but I forget that I'm in an enclosed press box with a roof, so I don't have a chance anyway, and 2 was a little bit high out of my reach.
Well, we got that laundry list of your athletic resume a little bit earlier in the broadcast, so we're finding out a lot about your athletic prowess as the game goes on here today.
Prowess, if that's what you want to call it, yeah. That's why I'm still not playing. That's why I'm in the booth next to you now. But no height requirement for a broadcaster, so.
That is a good thing for both of us. 0-2 the count on Jonathan Rice. Batting with 2 runners on and 2 outs. Milford retaking the lead in this inning 2-1. They've stranded a pair of runners in each of the first 2 innings. Rice hoping that trend does not continue here in the third. Here's the 0-2 pitch, and it's sent down the left field line. Will it stay fair? It hooks foul. Rice hitting that one hard, but just could not keep it between the lines, and he will step back into the box, still an 0-2 count. Lights are on here at Pheno Field as the sun has now dipped down behind the skyline. And League now stepping off, looking that runner back to second base, that lead runner Kyle Nocera, with Tyler Almeida the runner at first. Milford with 3 hits so far in this inning, supplying 1 run. And now another 0-2 pitch to Rice. That bounces in. Nocera quickly off as the ball ricocheted back out down the first base line a few paces. And so Nocera able to advance to third on the passed ball. So now runners at the corners for post 59.
Looked like Tyler Almeida didn't get a good read on that ball at first base. He elected not to go. And after he didn't get a good jump, it was probably a good thing he didn't, because the ball didn't get that far away from DeSottles, but good recognition by Nocera, who was the runner at second, to scamper onto third base.
So another run very close now for Milford at third. A conference now on the pitching mound, including the entire Grafton Hill infield and also their head coach out there as well. Again, this is our first opportunity to get a look at Grafton Hill this season. Their head coach Mike Coonan, and of course their general manager Dick Maynard, who is a Legion baseball legend, absolutely beloved amongst all of these Zone 4 teams, has been around the Legion baseball circles for a very long time. One of the true gentlemen. Believe he is around Pheno Field here. He always makes the trip. Have not had a chance to see him yet this evening. And Lakeview stepping off with that back foot, then right back on again.
The pace of this game has really slowed down with runners on first and third and 2 outs for Lakeview.
Finally ready to deal in a 1-2 pitch, and that misses inside, skips to the backstop, now kicks around the backstop, and no problem for Kyle Nocera to come in from third base to score. Down to second base goes Almeida as Milford takes a 3-1 lead.
Nocera was going to score from third base either way, but that ball took a tricky bounce off the backstop. Once the ball got by DeSottles, as I said, Nocera was going to come around and score easily. But with Tyler Almeida taking a wide turn at second base, he almost thought about going to third, but with still a runner in scoring position, he elected to stay at second base.
Ball came in hard to the backstop, straight back, and then kicked off one of the stanchion posts and then rattled off towards the third base side, giving Almeida the thought of potentially taking 2 bases, but plays it safe, stays at second. It's now a 2-ball, 2-strike count on Jonathan Rice. So both sides scoring off of a wild pitch in this third inning. Milford up by 2 now. And now the 2-2 pitch, and this is lined out to right field, down for a base hit. They will wave Tyler Almeida around from third base. The throw is weak coming in from right field. And no problem for Tyler Almeida to cross the plate. A 2-out RBI single for Jonathan Rice. And Milford now opens up a 4-1 lead.
Well, Jonathan Rice deciding he wants to use the right side of the field now. Milford scoring 2 of their 4 runs by hitting it to the left side of the field out to Jonathan Cherry, the Grafton Hill left fielder. This time it's Ryan Saucier out in right field who can't make a play out in right field. And Jonathan Rice with an RBI. Milford 4, Grafton Hill 1.
The line keeps on moving as now Joe Sanchioni comes to the plate. He swings at the first pitch and sends a very high fly ball out to center field, but not deep. J.D. Bailey makes the catch, and that will bring the inning to an end, but a good productive inning for Post 59 as they score 3 times. They retake the lead now up 4-1 on Grafton Hill as we have completed 3 innings of play now from Fino Field. A 4-1 Milford lead on My FM 101.3. Milford now with 4 runs on 6 hits. Grafton Hill 1 run on no hits as we enter into the top half of inning number 4. Both sides have committed an error. Zach Sasitsky allowing 1 run through his 3 innings of work so far. That run unearned. Dylan Legue allowing 4 runs, 3 of them earned. And Zach Sasitsky returns for a 4th inning of work where he will face Brendan DeSottles, Brian Fletcher, and Griff Consigli. Batters 5 through 7 in the Grafton Hill lineup, and the lefty's first pitch of the 4th is inside for ball 1.
We must have been wrong about Michael Farrow. Really no indication now that he's coming into this game. Still nobody warming for Milford in the bullpen, and no sign of Farrell on the outside of that dugout, so it must have been just a side session for Farrell.
You would think that Michael Farrell will be a prime candidate as Milford's starting pitcher in their first game of the playoffs, which should take place on Wednesday, as now this is a hard ground ball off the bat of DeSottles over towards third. A low throw from Monahan, and Reynolds can't pick it on the back end. This ball rolling deep in foul territory down the right field line. The catcher all the way down there to reel it in. And DeSottles stops at second base. So an error on Monahan to open up the 4th.
Well, Tim, you alluded to it yesterday in the broadcast for Northborough. Milford was able to pull away with a victory in that game, but there was a shift on the infield. Jake LeBlanc was playing third base, and Tyler Monahan was the first baseman. And you had the idea that a lot of that might have been due to errors for Tyler Monahan at third base. That is now number 7 for Monahan at the hot corner. He fielded that one cleanly. It was a tough play to field in the first place, but then didn't make an accurate throw across the diamond to Reynolds. So we'll have to see if Coach DeVito, once tournament time starts rolling around, if there's an adjustment on the left side of the field.
And meanwhile, Tyler Almeida, after making that run deep down in foul territory in right, having to readjust the shin guards before this game continues. Tyler Monahan, meanwhile, we know he's done a ton of work in between games. He's taken a ton of ground balls. He's worked hard on fielding that position at third base.
Well, he's a natural catcher, I believe, isn't he?
We saw him mostly at catcher through his first year with Post 59. Last season, a little bit more of a split between catcher and first base, but this is the first season that we've seen him at third. And again, you had initially thought Aiden Wild would have been ticketed for that position were it not for his injury, as now first pitch swinging Brian Fletcher sends a fly ball out to left field. Jonathan Rice able to track it back a few steps to make the catch for out number 1.
I remember playing against Monahan in a summer league a few years back, and he was a heck of a catcher from what I saw. Of course, that was early in his development as a catcher, only maybe a freshman or sophomore in high school, but he had a really good arm, called a great game from what I saw against the couple of games that I played against him. So it's obviously a struggle having to learn a new position.
He'll get another chance here as he fields that ball right next to the third base bag, throws across, and a very accurate throw this time on what was a much trickier play for Monahan as he had to travel to his right. That ball fielded right in front of the third base bag, and Monahan able to quickly set his feet and fire accurately to Reynolds at first to get the second out on the play. DeSottles does take third.
And that's a very impressive play by Monahan that time, ranging to his left to make the play. The ball actually took him on his backhand into foul territory. He threw that ball to the right of the third base bag and made a very strong and accurate throw across the diamond.
So again, a product of the work that Monahan has put in.
A lot of times it's the simple plays where you just have that extra second to think about it. And that seemed to be the case for the first batter of this inning, DeSottles. And it was a very simple ground ball, and he just bounced it in the dirt.
0-1 the count to Ricky Rushton with 2 outs in the inning. He sends a high fly ball in foul territory behind first base. Tracking it well was Alex Reynolds, and just shy of the warning track down the right field side, he's able to make the catch for the out that ends the inning. So DeSottle's able to advance to third, but he is held there. No runs scored for Grafton Hill in the fourth, and it remains a 4-1 Milford lead on this coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on MyFM 101.3. Home half of the fourth inning now from Pheno Field. A long day of baseball here today. Milford losing to Leominster 7-4 earlier this afternoon, a game that touched off right around 4 p.m. Milford ended up losing their second game to post 151 this season, losing game number 1 of the year up at Pincanavino Field 6-2 and dropping one here at home 7-4. But now hoping to salvage game number 2. They've got a 4-1 lead on Grafton Hill as they come to the plate in the fourth. Top of the Milford lineup, Shaun Rabello taking ball 1 from Dylan Legue back out for his fourth inning of work. Dylan so far has allowed 4 runs, 3 of them earned on 6 hits. He's walked 1 and struck out 5, falling behind Rabello here 2-0. Rabello 0 for 2 as this pitch misses outside.
Legue works very quickly with nobody on base. However, once he gets a runner on base, the tempo really slows down in his delivery.
Here is the 3-0 pitch, and that's in for a called strike. Bit of an interesting delivery out of Legue as he winds up. You see that front leg actually drags the infield dirt, kicks up a cloud of dust as he sends the ball into the plate, and that one misses outside for ball 4.
Yeah, herky, jerky motion sort of thing. He kind of has a little hitch in his delivery as well. He starts his motion, then kind of comes stop, and then, as you mentioned, drags that left toe across the dirt in front of him on the mound. But whatever gets the job done, I guess, as he walks Rabello, and now we'll see that tempo start to slow down, as I mentioned, already stepping off the rubber to reset with his catcher, DeSottles.
Good speed on the bases, of course, with Shaun Rabello and now Dawson McMillan at the plate. The runner immediately takes off as McMillan bunts at that high pitch, fouls it all the way up on top of the roof of the third base dugout for strike 1.
That looked like a bunt for self-defense for Dawson McMillan. That pitch ran up and in on the lefty. Must have been a designed bump play where McMillan had to at least make an effort to bunt that ball and at least try to get it on the ground. All he could do was foul it off.
Can expect the bunt at any given time from Dawson McMillan. He handles the bat so well. Now the third baseman well in on the grass, as McMillan does not show bunt on a pitch that misses low and inside.
McMillan actually has the advantage when he goes to bunt. Being a lefty, he's just a step or two farther down the line than a right-handed batter would be. So if he can lay any sort of bunt down that first base line, a drag bunt, he always has the advantage, especially with his speed. 1 or 2 step advantage compared to a right-handed hitter.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. The runner goes. McMillan sends a fly ball in foul territory behind first base. Rabello has to hustle to get back to first. He does get there as Xander Lovorn, the first baseman, makes the catch. McMillan pops out.
And a good job by both the Milford players on the bench as well as the coaching staff yelling at Shaun Rabello to get back. That's one of the tougher balls to track as a runner. When you're running away from it, the ball hit behind Shaun Rabello as he was off on the pitch to second base. So good job both by the Milford players and coaching staff to help Rabello get back, and also good speed by Rabello to get back himself.
He holds on the first pitch to Aiden Wild, which loops in towards the outside part of the plate for a called strike. Aiden flew out to center field in the first inning, then singled, stole a base, and scored a run in the third. Here's the 0-1 pitch, and Wild drives the ball out to center field, sending Bailey back, still on the move, and J.D. Bailey able to make the catch as he was shading Wild deep out in center field. Aiden Wild, of course, sent one well over the head of the Leominster center fielder, Matt Barron, back in game one. A ball that ended up all the way underneath the goalposts and went as a 2-run inside the park home run. So maybe that on the minds of this Grafton Hill team as Bailey was shading very deep in center.
He's hitting the ball right on the screws right now, all of them right up the middle towards the center fielder, Bailey. Aiden Wild seeing the ball very well right now. However, he only has one hit to show for it.
And now Tyler Monahan swings at the first pitch, pops it up foul off towards the left side. And that will go beyond the field of play for strike one for Tyler. 1 for 2 with a first inning RBI single. A 4-1 Milford lead. They scored 3 of those runs last inning. They were able to get their leadoff runner on here in the fourth on a walk to Shaun Rabello, but he remains at first base now with 2 outs. And now takes off for second as the pitch is high, pops out of the glove of DeSottles. And that results in an easy stolen base for Shaun.
That one would have been a similar situation to a pitch we saw for Milford catcher Tyler Almeida earlier in the game. Almeida still wasn't able to throw the runner out, but that pitch up and away almost acted like a pitch out. However, DeSottles wasn't able to get a clean handle on it, and Rabello steals second easily.
Now a 1-1 pitch. Monahan lets it go, and that misses inside.
Very close pitch on the inside corner that time. Looked like a breaking ball, pulled the string on Monahan, did Legue. Almost caught the inside corner, dropped back in, but called the ball.
2-1. Rabello starts and stops from second base as the pitch misses, and it is now, in fact, a 3-ball, 1-strike count on Monahan. And interesting to note, now warming up in the Milford bullpen is the lefty Kyle Nocera, as Legue now spins off the mound. So Nocera warming up after Sisitsky has gone the first 4. And you wonder if Coach DeVito will maybe want to get Nocera in for a 2-inning relief appearance as he tries to stretch Kyle back out, as the pitch is not close to the plate, misses very high for ball 4. And that is a 2-out walk to Tyler Monahan that puts 2 runners on with 2 outs for Alex Reynolds.
If Milford does decide to go with Kyle Nocera, it would be back-to-back lefties featured in this game. However, we saw Michael Farrow warming up earlier in the game. He never ended up coming in the game as of now. So Sisitsky with 4 innings under his belt so far. Coach DeVito may try to ride him as long as he can, but a couple of Milford pitchers have been warming up.
Reynolds swings at the first pitch and drives it again deep out to center field, but there's room for Bailey once again, and he makes the catch. Swinging at that first pitch was Reynolds, but he flies out to center for the out that ends the inning. So Milford strands 2 more base runners. They've now stranded 7 men on the base path so far in this game, but they do hold a 4-1 lead, as it will be Zach Sisitsky who returns to the mound to start inning number 5. And that 5th inning will take place right after this break on MyFM 101.3. A long day of baseball continues now into the top half of the 5th inning in this second game of a Milford Legion baseball doubleheader, part of triple header baseball action on MyFM airwaves today. We started off with Red Sox baseball earlier this afternoon, a loss for the Red Sox in their final game of the first half of the season against Tampa Bay. And then a loss for Milford in game 1 of their doubleheader, 7-4 against Leominster, but a 4-1 lead for Post 59 now here in the 5th, as this ball is floated out towards second base off the bat of Ryan Saucier, the number 9 hitter, and into the glove of Dawson McMillan for out number 1.
It's never a bad day when there's 3 games of baseball available to you. Luckily, WMRC, MyFM 101.3, I should say, is able to carry 3 games today, so all you listeners have had what I assume would be a very good day of baseball.
One of those days you can just keep the radio on throughout your Sunday chores, or maybe out by the grill, out by the pool, enjoying beautiful weather conditions for this Sunday.
Much better than yesterday, especially in the evening.
That is for sure. 1 ball, no strike count now to the leadoff man as this one is hit towards third, smothered by Monahan. The throw across the diamond there in time. And another nice play from Monahan, who pumps the fist after he was able to execute that play. Hit hard on the ground off the bat of Jonathan Cherry. Monahan able to slide behind the third base bag to field it, gets to his feet, and throws cleanly for out number 2.
Another phenomenal play by the Milford third baseman. And again, it's one of those plays that it's a tough play. It's a bang-bang play at first base. You don't have time to think about it. When you field the ground ball routinely and have an extra second to think about, oh, where's my release point going to be, you often make the error. But another great play.
And now this one is floated up the middle. On the move is Shaun Rabello, the center fielder, and he was able to track it well. He makes the catch, and 3 very quick outs in this top of the 5th inning, and Sisitsky is through 5 innings. A 4-1 lead for Milford post 59, as we will head to the home half of the 5th inning next on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on MyFM 101.3. Zach Sisitsky needing just 5 pitches to get through that top half of the 5th inning. He's needed just 12 pitches to get himself through the last 2 frames, so he has gotten much more economical over these last 2 frames. Overall now in the performance, 63 pitches deep into the outing for Sisitsky, and certainly giving this Milford team exactly what they were hoping for in this spot start in Game 2 of the doubleheader. And so Milford right back to the plate, where they will send Nocera, Almeida, and Rice. And the starter still on now for Grafton Hill, Dylan Legue.
Well, Tim, as we were talking about during the break, you have to wonder, with a few Milford pitchers warming up in the bullpen over the course of this game, if Coach DeVito wanted to ride Zach Sisitsky as long as he has. However, I'm not going to use any specifics because I don't want to jinx it, but the Milford Southpaw is flawless in 1 column so far, so maybe that's back in the back of head coach Steve DeVito's mind right now.
A 1 ball, 1 strike count on Kyle Nocera. And Kyle lets that pitch go. It hits the outside part of the plate. Now, Nocera so far today has struck out and reached on a fielder's choice. He scored on a wild pitch from Legue in the 3rd. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the pitch misses outside, evening the count. Nocera in game number 1 went 0 for 3 against post 151 pitching. So trying to break out here with the bat. About to see a 2-2 pitch, and it drops in low. This crowd still very much invested in this game. It's been a big crowd right from the first pitch of the 2nd game of the doubleheader. No one going anywhere, enjoying an entertaining contest between Milford and Grafton Hill. And now a hard ball sent foul right to the backstop, kicking right back towards the dirt encircling home plate. A 3-2 count to Nocera, the first Milford batter of the bottom half of the 5th.
Yeah, a lot of times you see fans start to trickle out as the game wears on, especially with Milford holding a lead as we get towards the late innings. But we're almost an hour and a half into this ball game, and still a big crowd here at Pheno Field. Almost reminiscent of a crowd that Milford Legion used to get in years past.
The payoff pitch into Nocera. He swings away and carves it foul out of play. Nocera up now. Tyler Almeida was working on a 2 for 2 day at the plate, waits on deck. Jake LeBlanc hand delivering some fresh baseballs into the home plate umpire before the at-bat continues for Nocera. Pinwheels the bat around, now levels it over the shoulder. As Legue now hesitates on the mound, winds and fires. And Nocera sends a high fly ball down the right field line, but that's foul and out of play all the way into the Milford bullpen. And so we will reset once again with the 3-2 count on Nocera. And another pitch on the way from League, and it's lifted in the air out to right field, ranging over to his right, and now diving is Saucier. He leaves the ball behind. Kyle Nocera hustling around the bases, and he will slide safely into second. That looked to be just a lazy fly ball, an easy play for Saucier, but he maybe was a little bit too lackadaisical going after the ball, then had to lunge for it at the end, couldn't make the catch, and Nocera, who was racing hard all the way down the line, is able to get into second base.
Well, I can tell you that right field here at Pheno Field, there's something about fly balls when you get to this dusk time, as we are around 8:30 now. The light is starting to dim, but the lights from the field aren't in full effect yet. And it looked like Saucier out in right field took a weird angle to that ball, started out going to his right, and then had to charge in and wasn't able to make the diving play.
So there's the second error on Grafton Hill in the game.
It seems as if left fielders can pick up the ball well on fly balls around this time, but it's something about right field. Not sure what it is, but this dusk time gives right fielders a tough time at Pheno Field.
A 1-0 pitch into Almeida. He hits it hard towards the right side. That gets underneath the glove of Rushton. And now here's Nocera around from second base. He scores without a throw. More excellent speed and excellent base running for Kyle Nocera, as he scores on the third hit of the game for Tyler Almeida, and Milford now able to open up a 5-1 lead.
And it looks like Almeida's 3-for-3 night is going to knock League out of this ball game. Coach Mike Coonan coming in for a pitching change.
And so a brief conversation on the pitcher's mound, and it looks like we might have some corresponding defensive changes as Coach Coonan now goes over to the home plate umpire. League looks like he is still on the mound right now, but we're seeing some of the outfielders coming back in towards the infield. So it looks like we will see some positional changes. So indeed we will see a new pitcher coming on now for post 323. So Dylan League able to go the first 4+, but an error in the outfield followed by an RBI single proves to be his undoing. And so it will be Griff Consigli, the third baseman, who comes in to take over on the mound. And League will now take over at third base.
Not sure if that's the only one-for-one swap. We'll have to take a look around the diamond and see if there are any other corresponding changes. There are only two outfielders in the outfield right now, so that may be one of the corresponding changes.
And so now another player popping out. It's J.D. Bailey, who
looks like he maybe just ran into the dugout during this brief stoppage in play to grab something.
So he races back out there now. Doesn't have his glove in his hand. Might have handed it off to one of his fellow outfielders, as he now
probably ran out of seeds in his back pocket, had to go grab some more, either that or bubble gum. That would be my two guesses.
So the only two changes is the swap of Consigli and League. So League ends up allowing 5 runs to Milford so far, 3 of them earned. Ends up allowing 7 hits. He is still responsible for Tyler Almeida at first, as Griff Consigli, the right-hander, continues to go through his warm-up tosses on the mound. Milford with a 5-1 lead, grabbing a run here again off that Tyler Almeida single. And Kyle Nocera also getting an assist there with good base running to immediately get into scoring position in the inning on that bit of a slow play developing by Ryan Saucier out in right field. Mishandled the pop-up. Nocera hustling into second base and then coming around from second on the single from Almeida. So a 5-1 lead now, and we are set to resume action with Jonathan Rice now coming to the plate. Rice 1 for 2. He drove in a run with a single back in the third. So Milford now with a run in the first, 3 in the third, and now 1 here in the fifth. And Rice, the lefty, to face the right-handed reliever Griff Consigli. Of course, that is a name with a lot of prominence here in the Milford area. I'm not sure if there is a direct connection, although there may very well be. First pitch out of the reliever, Consigli misses high for ball 1 to Rice. And now that one hits the outside part of the plate.
Consigli with a rather odd arm motion delivering the ball to home plate. Doesn't reach back and extend his arm, rather keeps his arm short and a short flight to home plate with his right arm.
Also just a quick slide step delivery too, so that might be a little tricky for these base runners for Milford. It's a 2-ball, 1-strike count now on Rice, and already a conversation taking place between Consigli and his battery mate Brendan DeSottles.
The slide step is very undervalued, I feel like, especially with a lot of these high school pitchers. It's a very effective weapon to keep runners on the bases in check. Just limiting your time to the plate by even a half a second can make all the difference in throwing off a base runner's timing and giving your catcher just an extra split second to make a throw down to second base.
Here's the 2-1 pitch, a wave and a miss. Foul tipped into the mitt of the catcher, and it's a 2-ball, 2-strike count.
It's even more effective if you mix it up with your full delivery, lifting your front leg, throwing off the base runner even more. You never know what delivery you're going to get.
The 2-2 pitch now, and that's in for a called strike 3. That one had Rice fooled. And so there's the first strikeout for Consigli, the first batter he faces. The starting pitcher, Dylan Legue, had 5 Ks through his 4+ innings of work. And now the third at bat, third plate appearance of the day for Joe Sanchioni. He walked in the second inning and then popped out to center in the third. Takes a pitch a little bit inside for ball 1. Coach DeVito going through the signs over in the third base coach's box, relaying them across the way to Almeida. The runner holds as the pitch is grounded foul just beyond the reach of Coach DeVito. Throws his hand up in frustration as he was not quite quick enough to make the play on that ground ball.
That's a play he's got to make. Really is. Players will be all over him when he gets back to the dugout, I'm sure.
Hard to see a better play by a coach than what we saw a couple of nights ago in Cherry Valley. A line drive sent foul towards the third base dugout. Cherry Valley head coach Stevens able to make the play on it in the air while holding his scorecard.
A line drive, really. You don't see that too often.
It was pretty hard hit and was completely unfazed as he was able to make that snag one-handed. And if we were ever going to give the Easy Way Car Wash diamond play of the game to something that does not happen between the lines, it would have been that play. As now this ball is popped up, playable on the infield for the second baseman, Ricky Rushton, who looks it into the glove. And Sanchioni is out number 2. And so far, Griff Consigli has retired the first 2 batters he's faced since entering in relief.
And an 0-for-2 night so far for Joe Sanchioni, of course, battling back from that knee injury that sidelined him for a couple of games. Hasn't been tested out in the field at shortstop much tonight, but he did walk in his first at-bat in the second inning and 0-for-2 since, so maybe that knee injury is still lingering just a little bit.
2 outs, Almeida remains at first. And a first pitch strike into Shaun Rabello. Shaun has struck out, reached on a fielder's choice, and walked. He also has a steal. And now this pitch drops in low, rolls right to the edge of the dirt around home plate, but no advance for Almeida.
Looks like Coach DeVito wanted Almeida to maybe try that one. Again, Almeida not really getting a good read on that ball. It happened the last time he was on base as well. But Coach DeVito telling Tyler Almeida at first base to extend that secondary lead.
The 1-ball, 1-strike pitch is low. Now Almeida takes off, the ball popping out in front of home plate. And another decent throw from the catcher DeSottles that was mishandled in front of the second base bag, rolls out to short center. No further advance for Almeida.
And now Coach DeVito standing with his hands on his hips from the third base coaching's box, I should say. Basically his body language saying, so you decide to go on that one. That ball didn't trickle that far away from DeSottles, but Almeida getting the message from his head coach, deciding to try that one, and luckily for Almeida, the ball got away from the middle infielders, allowing him to advance safely.
It's a 2-ball, 1-strike count to Rabello. And now the 2-1 pitch misses high, and they'll snap a throw all the way down to second base. It one-hopped into the glove of the second baseman, and Almeida able to get back.
And that's a sneaky play that time from DeSottles. Came up with his usual motion like he was going to throw back to the pitcher Consigli, and then with his strong arm fired all the way through to second base.
Here's a 3-1 pitch, swatted in the air out to right center over Saucier. Another chance, and he is able to make the catch, and that will conclude the bottom half of the 5th inning. Milford does score a run on the RBI single for Almeida. They now lead at 5-1 on Grafton Hill. On to the 6th inning we go on this coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on MyFM 101.3. One defensive change to let you know about as we get set to begin the top half of the 6th inning. Tyler Almeida now out of the game after coming through with that RBI single last inning, also advancing to second on that passed ball, and maybe a hard slide into the second base bag, getting word from Coach DeVito in between innings that Almeida's back tightened up. So he is out of the game, replaced by Jacob Beater. And so a new backstop, but the same pitcher on the mound for post 59, Zach Sasitsky, on for inning number 6, where he will face the 3, 4, and 5 hitters in the order. Dylan Legue swings at the first pitch, pops it up on the infield. Dawson McMillan was back at first, but then ranged in right on the lip of the infield grass to make the catch, and Legue out on just 1 pitch.
And obviously, the different battery mate for Zach Sasitsky isn't affecting him early in this 6th inning, getting a pop out to the second baseman McMillan. And as far as Almeida's concerned, that's tough. He's 3 for 3 on the day with an RBI. Finally, the bat's starting to come around. Let's hope that back injury doesn't delay him too long.
And now the first pitch into Xander Lovorn is a called strike 1. Zach Sasitsky needing just 13 pitches to get the last 7 outs, as now Lovorn sends one foul down the third base line, and he falls behind 0-2. Sasitsky has 3 strikeouts. They all came early in the ball game, 1 in the first and 2 in the second. Since then, he's been pitching to contact and doing so very effectively. Here is his 0-2 pitch, and that misses badly up and away to Lovorn.
And in a spot start, Coach DeVito has gotten everything he could have asked for out of Zach Sasitsky.
Ready now with his 1-2 pitch, and that breaking ball is sent on a line over towards the fans along the right field side. Looked like that one hit off of the railing right at the edge of the bleachers behind the first base dugout. Everyone looks to be okay after that one came in with a high rate of speed. And stays a 1-2 count on the Grafton Hill first baseman. Here's the pitch. It's another foul ball. This one a towering fly that drifts off to the right and well out of play. So it stays 1-2. Pitch count up to 68 in the game, but again, economical over these last few frames.
68 through 5 1/3 is very economical, especially the way he started out.
Here's his 1-2 pitch, and it's swung on and missed. So now able to get his 4th strikeout. He gets Lovorn, and it's 2 up and 2 down in the top of the 6th.
Well, it took him 4 innings to get that 4th strikeout, but this is a very impressive pitch, a breaking ball that fell right into the zone. Lovorn was way out in front, swung right over the top of the breaking pitch for the 2nd out of the inning. But considering that Zach Sasitsky walked 4 batters in the first 3 innings, he's settled down very nicely in this ball game.
And now an off-speed pitch in for a called strike 1-2. The catcher for Grafton Hill, Brendan DeSottles, who grounded out 3-1 in the first inning, then reached on an error to lead off the fourth, but was stranded at third base. Now looks at a called strike 2 on the outside part of the plate, and Sisitsky is 1 strike away from a second straight 1-2-3 inning. The bases are empty with 2 down in the 6th. The windup and the 0-2 pitch, and a very defensive-looking swing, a half swing as it was from DeSottles, and he was able to poke that pitch foul over towards the first base dugout.
I could be mistaken, but that ball looked like it may have hit the dirt in the right-handed hitter's batter's box before DeSottles actually half swung and hit that ball foul. Not too often you see a pitch bounce and hit the bat.
Another 0-2 pitch, and this one bounces in front of home plate, blocked by Beater.
Good thinking that time by Beater to go right back to that low inside part of the plate. Sisitsky hit his spot, but good discipline by DeSottles to lay off.
Sisitsky ready with his 1-2 pitch, and this is trouble out into right field. A long run for Nocera, no chance to get to it, and extra bases for Brendan DeSottles, who rounds third base, heading towards third. Here comes the throw, the slide, and DeSottles is safe with a 2-out triple, and that triple is just the first hit of the game for Grafton Hill post 323. Zach Sisitsky pitching 6 2/3 innings of no-hit baseball, and right on cue after that first hit of the game, Coach DeVito out of the dugout, and this will be the night in all likelihood for Zach Sisitsky.
Well, I said it earlier, it was probably in the back of his mind, and Sisitsky is very unpleased with himself right now, not being able to finish out what he started, but really a phenomenal performance by Zach Sisitsky in a spot start, his first start of the season. Coach DeVito wanting to try to get him through this game without allowing a hit, but once this hit came, they're going to turn it over to, I believe, Michael Farrow.
It is indeed Farrell taking over on the mound, so what a great performance for Zach Sisitsky in a game that I'm sure Coach DeVito initially thought, if I can get 3 innings or 4 tops out of Zach Sisitsky, I will take it in a heartbeat, but all of a sudden those innings started to rack up with no hits in the column for Grafton Hill, and Coach DeVito certainly not going to get in the way of a potential no-hit performance. The only run that Grafton Hill scored in the game to this point came in the top half of the 3rd inning as J.D. Bailey with 1 out walked. He was eventually out on a fielder's choice play, so Dylan Legue taking over on the bases with 2 outs, then an error on a throw from second base ended up getting Legue to second. He reached third on a passed ball and then scored on a wild pitch. So Grafton Hill scoring that run without the benefit of a hit. The only base runners they had to this point were on a pair of Milford errors and also the 4 walks that were allowed in this game by Sisitsky. So what a terrific performance. And he was frustrated with himself that he couldn't finish what he started, but a great start for the left-hander, and now he will give way to Michael Farrell, who will make his 2nd relief appearance of the day. So Michael Farrell, who had no relief appearances to his credit so far on this season, now makes 2 appearances in this doubleheader today. So as we mentioned, Michael Farrell, who was the 3rd arm utilized in Game 1 after Jack Tempesta went the first 4 1/3, allowing 7 runs, 6 of them earned. Nate Irwin pitching an inning and a third in that game, allowing 3 hits in relief, and then Michael Farrell pitching a scoreless 7th inning. 1 base runner on an error in that 7th inning, but otherwise a clean inning for Farrell. And so overall on the season, Michael Farrell enters into this game with a 3.60 ERA. Pitching with 2 outs and a runner at third base for post 323. And first pitch swinging, Brian Fletcher fouls one away at the dish.
And if you're Milford, you hope the defense is a little bit better behind Michael Farrell. Farrell's allowed 23 runs this season, however, only 12 of them have been earned. So Milford botching the ball a little bit behind Michael Farrell.
Here's his 0-1 pitch. That hits the outside part of the plate, a fastball. Good for strike 2. 0-2 the count on Fletcher as DeSottles walks out to a lead in foul ground at third base. Farrell sets. And now his 0-2 pitch. And this is a bouncer on the ground towards third base, scooped up by Monahan on the move. He makes the throw to first base, and Alex Reynolds just able to maintain contact with the first base bag. He was A little bit awkward there as he fielded the throw, trying to maintain contact with the bag. And fortunately, he's able to pop back up. It looked like he was maybe turned an ankle as he fielded that one-hop throw, but he was able to jump right back up. And so another nice play at third base for Tyler Monahan as he ranges in on the grass and then makes an off-balance throw to first base just in time to get Fletcher on the 5-3 inning-ending ground out. So Farrow able to strand that runner at third base. We move on to the home half of the sixth inning next. A 5-1 lead for Milford over Grafton Hill here on MyFM 101.3.
Hi, this is Kristen Farrow, President and CEO of the Milford National Bank. As a preferred lender with the Small Business Administration, we can help you get the loan you need no matter what size your business might be. And with the Milford National, we're also bringing the people who live and invest in your community and committed to helping your business grow. To learn more about our SBA loans and other ways we can help your business, please stop by any Milford National location or visit us at milfordnational.com.
A pool store that's all about fun. Let the pool and spa experts at Crystal Pool and Spa in Bellingham be your source for all your pool and spa supplies. Crystal Pool and Spa has been the area's leading pool store for families who want to spend less time maintaining their pool and more time enjoying it. At Crystal Pool, they offer the largest selection of pool products under one roof to meet your pool needs and budget. Have fun this summer. Enjoy your pool. Crystal Pool and Spa supplies and service. Route 140 Bellingham. 508-966-1322. 966-1322.
Bottom half of the sixth inning now. Milford will send batters 2, 3, and 4 to the plate. But before we get started with this bottom half of the inning, Anthony, another nice play from Tyler Monahan turned in to strand that runner at third base in the top half of the sixth.
Again, it's one of those plays where you don't really have time to think about, you know, where my arm angle is going to be, or, oh, he's running down the line, I got to hurry up and make this throw. Monahan with another great play, charging in a short hop on that ball, had to throw on the run, and another good play by Alex Reynolds at first base on the other end, having to field that ball into the runner of Brian Fletcher, but he was able to hang on. So a good play on both sides of the corner infield spots, I should say, for the final out of the sixth inning.
Back on the mound now is Griff Consigli for Grafton Hill, and his first pitch sails over the head of Dawson McMillan for ball one. And now comes back and hits the outside part of the plate, evening the count at a ball and a strike. McMillan in the number 2 spot in this game today. He'll be followed by Aiden Wild and Tyler Monahan in the inning. Now the full windup from Griff Consigli, and the control going in and out on these first 3 pitches. That one once again coming up and in on McMillan. So far Consigli looked like he was a little more comfortable pitching out of the stretch.
He did very well coming in after replacing Dylan Legue.
Here's his 2-1 pitch. McMillan swings away and sends it on one high bounce to second base. Rushton has it. He will send the throw to first. And Dawson McMillan is out number 1 of the inning. McMillan now 0 for 4 today.
And 4 straight outs recorded by Griff Consigli after replacing Dylan Legue, after Legue allowed the first 2 batters to reach in the 5th inning, both via base hits, a double and a single for Nocera and Almeida, a strikeout and 2 flyouts as well as a ground out so far for Consigli.
Aiden Wild now settling in on the right side. Taking the first pitch from Consigli high for ball 1. Aiden Wild so far 1 for 3. Hitting the ball hard every time he's come to the plate so far tonight. He's sent 2 deep fly balls to center field that have been snagged by Bailey, with a single wedged in between. And a 2-ball, no strike count.
And those balls that Wild has hit so far are frustrating for a hitter. When you just hit it right at someone, you know you hit it well, but you hit it right at someone and you don't get a base hit.
Here's the 2-0 pitch now. That drops in too low. And right now, Consigli pitching very cautiously to the big bat of Aiden Wild. The right-hander now taking his time. Now strides atop the pitching rubber into his windup, and the 3-0 pitch loops up around the eye level of Aiden Wild for ball 4, so a 4-pitch walk. And Aiden will take first base with one down.
The good thing about the Milford batting order, at least when they go up against opposing pitchers, is you think you can pitch around a kid like Aiden Wild, but then you got to face a hitter like Tyler Monahan and then Alex Reynolds and then Kyle Nocera. So, you know, you walk Wild on 4 straight pitches and it's like, okay, we didn't allow him to get the bat on the ball, but now you got to face Tyler Monahan.
Monahan now has to jackknife out of the way of the first pitch. He sees from Consigli for ball 1. Alex Reynolds is out on deck, so that's certainly a good indication that he didn't sustain any type of injury after having to awkwardly field that one-hop throw from Tyler Monahan to conclude last inning. Maybe looking a lot worse than it was as he kind of had to contort his body, spinning around to keep his foot on the bag, and then tumbled down onto his backside afterwards. As this ball now goes behind the back of Tyler Monahan. Sails to the backstop, and that allows Wild to trot down to second base on the wild pitch.
Nice gesture by Tyler Monahan to pick up the face mask of Brendan DeSoules. DeSottles, excuse me. Former catcher himself, Tyler Monahan, knowing how it can get tiring back there.
And now Monahan sends one on the ground towards shortstop. Scooping it up off the dirt is Fletcher. He fires to first base to get the out on the play. Aiden Wild is able to advance to third with now 2 outs.
And that's actually a very smart base running play by Aiden Wild. It won't go in the scorebook as anything flashy, but that ball for Aiden Wild hit to his left as he's out at second base, taking the shortstop Fletcher away from the third base bag, so Wild decides to advance and go over onto third base.
Now first pitch swinging Alex Reynolds sends one in the air out to right field. Another misread by Saucier. He can't get to it. It drops in front, and in from third base comes Aiden Wild to make it a 6-1 Milford lead. That will go as a gift single for Alex Reynolds, who looped just a lazy fly ball out to right field. Saucier initially breaking straight in, then had to race towards the line and could not make up the ground. It drops in front for what goes as a 2-out RBI single.
Even that double by Nocera back in the 5th inning maybe could have gone as a single. I don't know if Saucier would have gotten there, but definitely not a double. And now an RBI single for Reynolds, so a couple of gift hits so far for Milford, courtesy of Ryan Saucier out in right field.
Now ball 1 issued to Nocera. The batter at the plate. A snap throw over to first base that ended up clanking around the shoe tops of Xander Lovorn. DeSottle's really fearless throwing around to any base at any given time as he receives strike 1 from Consigli. We've seen a couple of times Lovorn's been playing in front of the runner and he hasn't quite gotten back to the bag in time to receive those snap throws.
You need communication with both the catcher and the fielders.
Called strike for Nocera, who was in disbelief as he backed out of the box.
Still shaking his head as he's still out of the box, shaking his head, awaiting the next pitch from Consigli.
It's now a 1-ball, 2-strike count. In Nocera's mind, it should be 2-1. Now the next offering is swung on and missed for strike 3, so Nocera none too pleased as he heads back to the dugout. But one more run in the frame for Milford post 59. It's now a 6-1 Milford lead after that gift RBI single with 2 outs for Alex Reynolds. And so it will be a 5-run lead for post 59 into the 7th inning, trying to wrap up a victory here in the second end of the doubleheader. We'll see if they can pull it off when we come back next on coverage of Milford Legion baseball on My FM 101.3. A third pitcher on now for post 59 as we enter into the top half of the 7th inning, and it is the left-hander Kyle Nocera now as the third pitcher coming out for post 59 in this second end of the doubleheader. So Nocera now making his 3rd appearance on the pitcher's mound this season, his 2nd relief outing. Came on to finish off the 4th of July game against Framingham last week. So comes in with a 1.17 ERA, a 1-0 record, winning Milford's home opener here at Pheno Field earlier this season against Wachusett. but it's been sidelined with some elbow issues through the middle of the season, but getting healthy here late. Through 6 innings pitched, Kyle has allowed a total of 6 hits, 2 runs, just 1 of them earned. He's walked 2 batters, struck out 8. Opposing hitters are batting .231 against Nocera, and a hard-throwing lefty to have come out to finish this one off.
So all 2 pitchers we saw warming up for Milford in this game, Michael Farrow and Kyle Nocera, both getting into this game. Milford only relying on Michael Farrow for 1 out in the 6th inning.
Strike 1 dealt in by Nocera to Griff Consigli, who started the game at third base, now coming out in relief, pitching the last 2 innings for post 323. Ended up allowing a hit and a run last inning. Also walked a batter. Nocera ahead 0-2. Here's the pitch, and it's popped up on the infield. Underneath it is Dawson McMillan, and now he whiffs on the catch. You could see right at the end, McMillan with a little bit of a second guess on his positioning, then lunged for the ball and just came up empty. And Consigli will end up at first base on the gift to lead off this inning.
And that's a tough play to score because that's really a routine pop fly to the second baseman, but at the same time, Dawson McMillan didn't really get a glove on it, so it may go as a single, but it's really a play that Dawson McMillan should have had.
So we'll rule it the gift base hit for now. We'll see how assistant coach Tim Walsh scored it in the dugout after the game. But a runner at first base with nobody out now for Ricky Rushton, the second baseman. As that pitch now bounces to the backstop, gets past Beater, and Consigli will now move into scoring position. So gifted his spot at first base, and now the pass ball allows him to move into scoring position. And the last time Grafton Hill scored a run, it was self-inflicted on the Milford side with errors, pass balls, and wild pitches. Hoping to not have a repeat of that here in the 7th, as Nocera's pitch comes back in towards the plate for a called strike.
And this may be a tough situation for Beater behind the plate as well, really the third string catcher for this Milford team. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of experience with Kyle Nocera.
As now that pitch misses just outside.
However, they both played for Nipmuc. Nocera, a graduate of 2016, and Beater 2019, still a rising junior.
So the two may have crossed paths, at least somewhat at the high school level. Beater corralling that pitch in the dirt from Nocera, which now brings the count to 3-2 against the number 8 hitter Rushton, who has struck out and popped out so far in the game. Here's the 3-2 pitch, and it's swung on and missed for strike 3. Nocera able to get the K. That runner holds at second base with now 1 down. And Ryan Saucier now to the dish, who is 0 for 2 at the plate and has also had an adventurous evening in the field defensively. Nocera sends a fastball way outside. On a line, goes to the backstop, and on to third base now goes Consigli.
Yeah, nothing Beater could have done about that one. Didn't even have an opportunity to get the glove on it. That ball way outside. Looked like Nocera released that ball way too early. Sailing to the backstop from the southpaw.
And getting some communication straight from the dugout from Coach DeVito after that pitch. Now here's his 1-0. That drops in low. And a couple of factors at play for Nocera. Of course, not a lot of work on the pitcher's mound this season. We've seen that he's featuring a different arm slot than when we saw him both earlier this year and when he worked out of the rotation in 2015, as he now falls behind 3-0.
It's almost like a 3/4 angle arm slot dipping down to the side a little bit.
And just speculation on our part, but would make sense that Nocera may be trying a different arm slot to reduce the stress on that elbow that has flared up on him at times. Of course, that was what held him out of pitching all of last season for the Legion team after he worked to a high innings count for Nipmuc in his senior season. As now he comes back with a called strike as Saucier had tossed the bat all the way towards the third base dugout, now has to go back and pick it back up as the count goes to 3-2.
And home plate umpires don't like it when you do that. Let's see if the strike zone expands even a little more. That pitch was a gift. Let's see if it expands a little more on this 3-2 pitch.
On the way now, and swinging that time with Saucier, he sends it to the backstop. But the other factor at play for Nocera is also trying to keep the emotions in check. Nocera has been so antsy to get back on the pitcher's mound once the elbow started to feel better, and wanting to really prove himself and contribute both pitching as well as with the bat. And now there's this 3-2 pitch. It bounces in for ball 4, and Saucier will take the walk. Now runners at the corners for post 323 with 1 out.
Nocera also struck out to end the 6th inning on a pitch, on the 2-strike pitch that he didn't agree with, and then ended up striking out. So he could be feeling a little bit anxious right now in that respect as well, a little bit angry from his last at bat. So needs to work out of this first and third jam. Milford still holding a 5-run lead. However, you don't want it to get close.
It's back to the top of the lineup now, and a breaking ball that misses outside to Jonathan Cherry.
Similar spot to where the pitch for Saucier was, that he flung the bat back towards the dugout. However, Nocera doesn't get the call this time.
The 1-0 pitch, and that is low, so Nocera trying to find his command. When we last saw him in relief, again back on the 4th of July, Nocera faced just 4 batters. He did walk 1, also had a strikeout in a quick inning of work. And really frustrated with himself now as he goes to a 3-ball, no-strike count. You can see the body language for Nocera as he snapped at that return throw, kind of spun around on the pitcher's mound. Here's his 3-0 pitch. And a get-me-over fastball in there for strike 1.
Some movement in the Milford dugout, however, nobody warming up in the bullpen quite yet. You maybe have to wonder if Nocera runs into more trouble than what he's in now if we'll see another relief appearance.
This will be pitch number 20 for Nocera. It's sent in the air out to center field. Shaun Rabello full speed over into the right center gap. Instead, it's Alex Gunfriday into the game in right field. He makes the catch. Sends the throw back on the infield, but not before Griff Consigli crosses the plate. So Jonathan Cherry credited with a sacrifice fly. That one hit just deep enough to bring the runner in from third base. And Nocera will be tagged for a run here in the 7th inning, and it's now a 6-2 score.
A minor dent in a Milford lead that still is at 4 runs, so no immediate threat right now for Nocera. However, he would like to retire this last hitter to end this ball game.
Batter at the plate, J.D. Bailey, who takes a pitch high for ball 1. J.D. so far in the game walked twice in his first 2 plate appearances and then lined out to center field to conclude the 5th. Took a nice rangy play from Shaun Rabello that at the time kept the no-no intact for Zach Sasitsky. As this pitch is popped up foul, Beater giving it a look, but it's out of play. And the count evens at 1-1. And if you look up at the sky here at Pheno Field right now, you can see the moths circling. For anyone who was around these Milford area athletic fields earlier in the spring, you saw the amount of gypsy moth caterpillars there were in abundance earlier in the season, and it seems like they have now returned in moth form.
I think I'd rather have them in moth form. However, they're not flattering either way.
It's like a cloud hovering over the Pheno Field infield right now. And also dive bombing into the press box a time or two here in the late innings as well. A 1-ball, 1-strike count on Bailey. That's your bug update from Pheno Field here for the evening. That does not have a sponsor. Maybe it should.
Tim, there's one on your head. I'm kidding.
1-2 now. And Nocera trying to end it on this next pitch. Here it is, and that is low. A 2-ball, and 2-strike count. This game, or this day I should say, here at Pheno Field got started around 4 o'clock this afternoon. We're now 9:15. Getting ready to wrap up this second end of the doubleheader. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Nocera wanted the call, but ruled outside. And a full count now on J.D. Bailey.
One of the lengthier games that Milford has had to play in this year. We're just about at the 2-hour mark. This game starting a little after, 7 o'clock.
And it'll make back-to-back games that crossed the 2-hour threshold. It was a 2-hour and 5-minute contest between Milford and Leominster earlier this afternoon, and now just about 2 hours and change with just 1 out left to get here in the top of the 7th inning. Milford leading 6-2. A runner at first base for Grafton Hill. They've scored a run so far in this inning. Here's the payoff pitch to Bailey at the plate. It's low for ball 4. There's the second walk for Nocera. And still no visit from the dugout. Coach DeVito giving Kyle Nocera some rope here to try to work his way out of these struggles.
And I'm sure, no, sorry, Tim. I'm sure not what Kyle Nocera wanted, working his way back from arm injuries, having last pitched on July 4th, already with a high pitch count due to a couple walks and a run and a couple base hits.
And now a fastball that misses up and away. And Nocera now shaking out that arm after that last pitch. And that's certainly not what you want to see. As Nocera now gets right back on the rubber and fires this ball in. It's grounded towards second base. Scooping it up is Dawson McMillan. He will fire to first base, and there is your final out of the game. So a little bit longer of a 7th inning certainly than Kyle Nocera was hoping for. He allows just 1 run in the inning, and in the end Milford is able to walk away with the 6-2 victory. So they are able to salvage the second end of this twin bill. They go 1-1 on the day. With the victory, Milford improves now to 17-5 on the season. And with the loss, Grafton Hill drops to 8-14, and that is certainly a serious